Yeah, like these. I was listening to dubstep before a lot of you were wearing diapers, alright? You like that, don't you?
Can I use the bathroom real quick?
Whoa, no. You're live, dude.
Okay.
You can go to the bathroom though. Go.
Can I?
Go.
Thank you.
You can go. We will be going. We are live now. We are awaiting our next Florida U Judge candidate guest, Michelle Grimsley, who's running for House District 70. Good evening, Michelle.
Good evening. How are you?
Good. And so we're live, and we are 2 minutes late because we just ended our interview with Mark Oliver.
Okay.
And so we're also waiting for my co-host Nina Hayden. Good evening, Florida U Judge viewers watching the broadcast live from Facebook and YouTube. We're just going to have, in a couple of minutes, we're going to start our interview with House District 70 candidate Michelle Grimsley.
Can you hear me okay, Haiti?
I can. And we're going to be taking call-ins. The call-in number is 813-221-9700. Michelle Grimsley has agreed to take call-ins this evening. So we're going to open it up, hopefully for the majority of the hour between 7 and 8 so that the electric can call her directly at call-in number 813-221-9700 so that you can ask this candidate questions that are important to you. Okay, so we have Nina. Welcome back.
Yes. Hello. Michelle,
Nina.
how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Well, how would you like, or Miss Grimsley? Which one would you prefer?
Michelle's fine.
Michelle, wonderful.
Yes.
Great.
And you know what? I've only had an opportunity to speak to you on a couple of occasions and text back and forth. And you're a wonderful soul.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Haiti.
Yeah, I appreciate you too. So, again, the call-in number, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and the call-in number is 813-221-9700, and I'm going to let Nina ask the majority of the questions. And I know that's going to be hard for me. Sometimes you have to put duct tape over my mouth, but I'm going to be screening, patching in the calls just to make sure that everything's on the up and up. So, with that, Nina, take it away.
Michelle, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Great. Why don't you introduce yourself to the viewers?
Sure.
Yeah.
Michelle Grimsley. I'm born and raised in Florida House District 70 on the Manatee County side of the bridge.
Okay.
So what I want to make sure people understand is we all know that District 70 is gerrymandered, but it's got a very unique makeup. We represent 4 legislative delegations. So we're in Pinellas, South St. Petersburg, then cross the Skyway over to Manatee County, Rabonia, Palmetto, Bradenton. Between 301 and 41, we go all the way south to Fruitville Road in Sarasota. So Newtown is our Sarasota portion of our district. And then in Hillsborough, we have Ruskin. So it's a very oddly shaped district, but most of our areas are very similar. So my dad was born and raised in District 70, so I'm very familiar. A lot of our conversations don't just include talked about Manatee, Sarasota, St. Pete as well, even though I don't live in St. Petersburg. I'm the most recent legislative aide for Florida House District 70. So I was able to sit under State Representative Wingay Newton, who is currently holding that seat. I began my legislative aide position in 2018, actually. So I've really gotten a chance to understand what the job entails.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a lot of community service work. this isn't something that I just started because I'm a candidate. I've been working in my community for years. It's just a part of who I am. So I currently am on the board for Turning Points, which is the homeless coalition in Bradenton, the Manatee Tiger Bay, the Manatee County Democratic Black Caucus. I'm the first vice president, and I'm a founding member of our local Minnesota Black Chamber of Commerce. So I am very involved in my community. It's just a passion that I have. I am the civic engagement coordinator for my church, First Community Church in Palmetto. You know, nothing's going to stop me. When I started in the legislative aid position, my first day in Tallahassee literally slapped me across my face. So all it did was ignite a passion. So I really look forward to continuing to serve the residents of District 70.
I'm really interested in the fact, okay, you have had prior Tallahassee experience, so that gives us inside information, so to speak, in terms of your experience. So I want you to talk to the viewers right now, those that are your constituents and those that are looking on, as to give us a day in Tallahassee and exactly what you did in a day, being former Representative Wingate Newton's
He's a current still,
yes.
till November.
Oh, yes. current.
Don't want to
yes.
disrespect him.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
Yes.
He's running for commissioner.
Pinellas County Commission, District
That's
7.
correct. So I apologize for that.
No problem.
Yes, give us a day, and what specifically did you do?
Okay, so Nina, no 2 days were alike. I'm sure you can imagine that.
Yes.
But on a day-to-day, what I want people to realize is this. I'm basing my campaign, and this is a promise that I have if and when I'm elected, to educate our constituents, equip them, and then elevate them to be able to work effectively in our communities. We only have 6 committee weeks and a 60-day legislative session every year.
Right.
Those 6 committee weeks, it's not 7 days of work that we get. 2 of those days are travel days. So you have 3 actual days of work in Tallahassee during those 6 committee weeks. So that amounts to 18 days of work. And then the 60-day session. That's 78 days that you can actually work and get bills passed and appropriations projects heard. And really, if the committee weeks are the sausage making period, if you're not really getting your bills heard during committee weeks, you can almost bet that they're not going to be heard during the session, or it's going to be very difficult for you to get them heard.
Right.
Your bills have to be heard by and passed by 3 committees at least. So being a Democrat, you're in the minority in the legislature. So just because you submit your bill, your bill has been assigned to a committee, it doesn't mean, oh, it's my turn, so I'm going to get my bill heard today. You have to lobby and continue stay in contact with the chairs of those committees and their staff, and really make sure they understand the importance of your bill being placed on the agenda. So those are things that I did on a day-to-day when I was in Tallahassee. From day one, Representative Newton mentored me. It wasn't just about, oh, you're my aide and you work for me. I really got to sit with him and learn and walk the halls of the Capitol building with him and sit with these chairpersons of the committees to really understand how the work is done. It takes a lot more than having a passion for the subject that your bill is related to. You really have to understand what working across the aisle means and build those relationships and build bridges in order to be able to, it's great if your bill makes the agenda, but you actually want it to pass. So, it's very important that we have someone that understands that process. We're at a very trying time, and I just don't think we have time for a learning gap or the learning curve. So, on a day-to-day, I'm making contact with other legislative aides for my members so that our members can meet and speak, whether that's they're on their way to committee together so they can walk and talk on the way, or we can all meet together and get to discuss some things. I've had various scenarios. Then you come to the part of session where it's budget conference. So budget conference looks totally different than, any other day, because now the bills have been heard. Whatever's going to make it to the floor is, already on the calendar. But what you're trying to do at budget conference is make sure that the appropriations that you are trying to bring back for your district aren't touched, because it's more than a process, it's a game. So if you don't have your appropriations on the House side and on the Senate side, you're trying to lobby and make sure that your item isn't touched because you decided to go home at midnight. So sometimes you're there till 3 o'clock in the morning just to keep an eye out, because all they give you is a 30-minute notice that there's going to be a meeting. So, it's literally playing watchdog, and I like to call myself in private eye, and just making sure that everything that you've worked so hard for is intact.
Okay, the call-in number for those who are viewing live is 813-221-9700. House District 70 candidate Michelle Grimsley is will be taking calls, answering your questions. For those of you in the public that'd like to call in.
Great. So let me ask you this question. We're still on? Seems like she froze a little
I
bit.
think Haiti froze.
Yeah.
Okay. Again.
Okay, she's on.
Okay, again, the call-in number is 813-221-9700 if you have any questions for House District 70 Florida candidate Michelle Grimsley.
So, Michelle, you came up with you stated a really good point. There's a minimal amount of time where you can actually get some work done in terms of laws, effective things done where it will help your community. So what are the types of things that need to be done prior to that? Then instead of, not looking at the travel days, but what types of things have to be done as a representative to prepare for the legislative session? And then after the legislative session, to be honest, Michelle, the folks who are in your community, they only see you, right, when they see you. It's kind of like when you're gone, technically when the representative is gone, they're out of sight, out of mind. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think? What types of, sorry, some
No problem.
What types of things do you think you will need to do to prepare, and then afterwards to really take advantage of the if you were to get elected, that 2-year time frame?
So one thing that we really, I think we're successful with in Representative Newton's office is visibility. And I think that's something, we were on the road back and forth from Tallahassee to make sure we didn't miss key things going on back in the district, and having staff visible as well. One person can only do so much, but you need to have a staff that's super engaged and understands the importance of speaking with the community and being in touch. And I found that the community is okay with, if there's a staff that they know represents an office and they can always contact that person, it gives them a level of comfort. I might not always be able to speak with the representative, but I can get to this person and they're going to get my question answered. So that's something that I think is very, very important. But for preparation to committee weeks and legislative session, even now, it's time to start preparing legislation. It's time to get with those. I say this all the time. I don't know everything. A lot of, especially what we're about to encounter for this upcoming session.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not an expert in it, but there are tons of subject matter experts on these issues. And I think it's my duty and my responsibility to sit with and actively listen to
Mm-hmm.
those subject matter experts. COVID-19 has brought on a world of issues for us. So I just don't believe that this session is going to look like any other session. So some of the aspirations and things that as freshman legislators, we may have wanted to go in and hit the ground running with, we're going to see some type of a change with that, I believe. So we're going to have a true understanding of what, maybe one laser focused issue that you want to work on and get done, and make sure that you do it to the best of your ability within those 78 days, because you also have a caucus behind you. And, me, I would be a Black legislator. So then I would have the Florida Legislative Black Caucus that I have to work with, who also has a list of priorities. You have your Democratic caucus with a list of priorities. So you're not going to be able to personally be focused on 10 other issues. You're going to have to be very selective, and it'll be beneficial if some of your priorities are a part of the priorities of the caucuses that you're a part of, because then you can still be effective. But I just plan on being laser focused on 1 to 2 issues per session. Not to say that I'm not going to support other issues, but just for me and my focus to be effective, I would like to really look at bills that are going to focus on issues that I care about in my community and that are important to District 70.
Excellent, because that leads right into the next question. Come on, Michelle, tell us your issues. What are those ones? Do give me at least three, so that we can have an idea. And do you have a backup issue? Do you have like, okay, one or two, but then okay, you see maybe this third backup issue is working, or there's some other folks who work on that where you can commune with them, so to speak,
Sure.
and
Do you
help
all
them.
strategize? Like, because what you're saying is true. No, it's an honest answer. I like the fact that you said you don't know everything. None of us do. None of us know everything. You have to have experts that can guide you and give you
Yeah.
information on, so to better understand, to give you knowledge so that you can better serve your people. But you already have two things on the hopper that you're looking at, setting up already, to once you, if you are elected, to start working on, so that you can hopefully get it passed. But do you strategize, like, maybe I can focus on this, but maybe one of my other fellow
Oh, absolutely.
lawmakers are
Right.
going to already cover something that I'm not going to have to, because I'll maybe co-sponsor it, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Does
Absolutely.
that go, does that happen with lawmakers up in Tallahassee? Like, how do you figure, let me try to maximize as many issues as I can
Sure.
with the time that I have?
Yeah, and that's a part of building those bridges and those relationships. It's not just across the aisle. Um, it's with your fellow Democratic legislators as well, because we all are standing on pretty much the same principles. So it wouldn't make sense for me to try to file legislation that my another Dem is really working hard on and has done tons of legwork, and then for me to try to cut them off at the ankles. So if I can help them lobby and co-sponsor their bill and get their co-sponsor numbers up, because it's a numbers game. So if the party that's in the majority can see that, oh wow, pretty much the entire Democratic uh, party is co-sponsoring this bill, they know they're going to be in for a fight. So more than likely, it's going to be heard and it's going to be presented. So that's definitely a strategy that is super important. So, once the results are in for these elections, some of us will be finished August 19th. So I think between August and November, it's time to really hit the ground running. And then November, when we know everybody that's going to be in office, to really start to figure out, okay, these are going to be my priorities. What are your priorities? And what can we do to kind of tie it all in together and make sure that everybody has the support that's needed?
Okay,
So tell
so
us those issues.
sorry.
I want to get to
Okay.
that. Haiti got us a little
No, I just,
sidetracked.
I
Good
am sorry. I
question.
apologize, Nina. The call-in number is 813-221-9700. Go ahead, and we'd like to get some calls in for Michelle Grimsley. Go, Nina.
Go for it, Michelle.
No, no,
So
no. Oh, sorry. I thought it was
Yes.
you, Nina.
So the biggest issue that I really want to work on and in various capacities is the school to prison pipeline.
Okay.
I was an elementary school registrar for 5 years. Um, both sides of my family are full of educators, so I've gotten to see this um, from different angles. So I think that we attack the school to prison pipeline with early learning. So the very first bill that I would file is HIPPY, and it's an appropriations, and it's an appropriation project that it has to be filed year after year in order for it to remain in the budget. And HIPPY is home instruction for parents of preschool youngsters. And what the HIPPY program does right now, it's in about 16 counties in our state, but the HIPPY coordinators bring in to your home, and it's absent the school system, book shapes, colors, and phonics. If the parent or the guardian doesn't know how to read, they teach them how to read and help them with literacy. But they're teaching you how to teach your child and how to make sure that your child is ready for kindergarten. So all of the HIPPY program participants are about 97% ready for kindergarten, reading a book from cover to cover at 4 years old. So if our kids are starting school already ready, they're ahead of the game already. We have kids that can't read in third grade. So if we can make sure our kindergartners are reading, then we're already attacking the school to prison pipeline because our kids are focused on, I want to read more, I want to know more, I know how to do this, so give me more. They're sponges at that point. So we really need to pour into our early learning system much more than we have ever done before. And you know, people hear the school to prison pipeline and just think about discipline, but I believe in kind of reverse engineering, and there's a way for us to figure out where it starts and cut it off there, and then we can go back and fix some of the other issues. So then, as you know, having worked in the school, this is going to take not just legislation from the state. We're going to have to work with our local governments as well and our school boards. But what I've noticed is, I believe, and Nina, you might be able to talk to me a little bit about this. I believe we need uniform discipline matrices within our schools. I've seen that a kid in a District 70 school may have a little, you know, rumble. We can call it a fight, and they're going to get suspended. And depending on how bad that fight got, they may get expelled. But in a more affluent neighborhood, it's a detention, or, you know, you guys go have peer mediation and talk it out. And right there, our kids are already in the deficit. So I really need to see something happen with, and you know, I've talked to some principals and I've talked to some school board members, and oh no, we have uniform discipline matrix. Well, it's not being used. If they were being used effectively, we wouldn't see this happening. So, you know, I know that, you know, there's this thing called home rule, but we've got to get to down to the bottom of this in one way or another, and I'm determined to do that.
One of the things I could see it really quickly is that the school to prison pipeline was a major issue for me as well. And I could see also the types of children that were arrested on a larger basis than others. So the issue has to do with knowledge and understanding of the individuals who are either calling the police that are on the campus to arrest. You understand what I'm saying? The uniformity has to be up here, not just something that's written, but something that's actually applied and acted upon in a uniform way. What types of things do you think, if you were to win the seat, that you could do to communicate to the school board, specifically, obviously, that affects your district, of what's happening to the children that are in your community? Because I do feel you have a point, Michelle. We looked and we could see that early education, early, even before the child even hits the home, what types of tools are in place for the child? How many books have they read? What have they interacted? What's the length of their knowledge of the alphabet or reading, and those types of just their environment, that doesn't have to do with the shaping of the socioeconomic issues and the criminal issues of the particular areas that they come from. What types of things? So this this program, and I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it correctly, but does that program just deal with the education? What does it deal with? Just the education piece, or does it do anything for the family, the home, individuals that are in the home?
So it's what they do. It is mainly education, but because they're actually in the home, you know, they have eyes, and they see other things that are going on that hippie may not actually cover. So then those hippie teachers and coordinators then can connect them with other services that are available within the communities. So I want to get hippie. I would love to make it recurring year after year, but getting something of that magnitude to be recurring is a very difficult thing to do, especially being in the minority party. But I would like to see hippie expanded to all 67 counties in our state. You know,
Wow.
right now it's only in about 16 to 20. So every single county needs hippie. But I think that tying our early learning programs in with other community resources and wraparound services that are going to be beneficial to the families in those homes that have tons of other issues going on, is where we really also need to look at. And, you know, funding again is going to be crazy, but we need to look at what types of programs we funded thus far and how effective they've truly been. You know,
Right.
it's easy to get up and speak about how great a program is, but I want to see numbers. You know, what's your success rate been? What's your recidivism rate? I want to know why you deserve to continue to get this funding when my neighborhoods are still looking the way they did 25 years ago.
You
Okay,
have a
so
great. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I want the public to be able to engage and to get
Absolutely.
ask her questions. So we have. I hope I'm not mispronouncing this. Nierda La Fontant said, "Thank you. Would love to hear about your top 3 issues. I know you already talked about hippie. You're going to be focused on that. So could you address
Two
any other
more.
issues?" Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So, HIPPY, the early learning, the discipline matrices within the school to prison pipeline, and healthcare. And I'm making healthcare broad because there's so many different areas that, you know, can be addressed and need to be addressed. But from a personal experience, my mother passed away in 2012 of cancer. And it was diagnosed in stage 4 on October 31st of 2011, and January 15th of 2012 she passed away. So it was super fast. My mom was a healthy person otherwise, and I had actually moved home a year prior to that because of some I had a domestic violence situation, and my parents literally came and picked me up and plucked me and brought me back home. We thought it was going to be for about a month, but I realized I had some emotional and mental healing I needed. And in hindsight, I get to see now I was able to spend the last healthy year of my mother's life with her because of that.
Wow.
And my dad was still able to go to work. So I was her caregiver. And going to the oncologist with her, I remember, I'll never forget this. He's talking to us about the chemo and pulling out different concoctions of fluids. And I say, well, that's the poison symbol, isn't it? And the oncologist says, well, yes, it is. I said, well, you're telling me you're going to put that poison into my mother's body. And he said, well, yeah, what we have to do is kill all the cells, including the good ones, to get rid of the bad ones as well. And then we get hit with, well, and it also, you know, costs this much and your insurance doesn't cover this percentage. But you can go back to our bookkeeper's office and they have a book full of scholarships that you can maybe have access to. You know, that's not something families need to deal with when they're already dealing with healthcare issues. So that's one of the reasons that healthcare is going to be a huge, you know, something near and dear to my heart.
I want to ask you this question, and Haiti had a question that she asked the other gentleman, Mark, before we interviewed you. But so you talked about funding, and let's talk about this whole situation of defunding the police. What do you think? Is that something that you think that is something that we should do? If so, how would that affect your area? And also, if that were to happen, let's say Tallahassee decided as a whole to defund the police agencies, or it trickled down through the county commission budget, however that's funded, you understand. Where would you say the money needs to go?
So I've talked to a few community leaders and activists about this issue, and I understand where the defund the police came from, but I think it's probably not the best use of words, because the fact is, if somebody, you know, comes and does something to me or my family or tries to break into my home, I'm going to call 911 and I want the police to show up. So I don't think that defund the police is what is truly meant by activists when that's said. I think we need to reallocate funding for some of the things that we are funding within the local law enforcement agencies. So I think we need to look at more diversion programs. You know, law enforcement and our criminal justice system is worth billions and billions of dollars, to say the least. So we really need to look at youth diversion programs. Why is the recidivism rate so high within our criminal justice system? And those are the types of programs that we need to be reallocating some of those funds for. You know, I talked to a local police chief, and they had looked at how they had their units split up. And one particular unit was specifically assigned to traffic violations that could possibly lead to finding drugs and guns. So that already lends to, you're stopping everybody because you don't know me from anybody else when you're stopping them. But now if you're continuing to stop me for a minor traffic violation, I don't trust you anymore. So it's not building those relationships that we need between our local law enforcement. So that police chief saw that and decided to dismantle that unit. And now that unit is no longer, but now those funds and those officers are going to be more like community oriented officers. So they're not in cars, they're on foot and they're on bikes and they're talking to the residents and they're looking at some diversion options for certain offenses. So those are the types of things I think we need to look at when we're talking about defunding the police. It's more about reallocating those funds because we all need community safety.
Haiti, did you want to ask that? You want to address that article that you had that you addressed to Mark about
So,
COVID in
and
this
I sent it.
specific area?
I sent it to you.
Mhm.
Did you get that?
Yes.
And it talked about, there was 2 weeks ago, there was a news report that came out talking about South St. Pete and how heavy hit it was getting as far as COVID, and it talked about maybe talking about in the areas as to possibly why, with poverty, healthcare being a challenge, education, just in all realms. That district, that area, South St. Pete specifically, is getting hardly hit because of those challenges in those areas. You wanted to speak to that?
Sure. That article did focus on South St. Pete, but I can also tell you that another hot zip code is 34208 in Manatee County, part of our district. So this lends to show how much our district needs resources and services and various forms of help. But history is going to show that severe illness and death rates tend to be higher for those in racial and ethnic minority groups and populations during public health emergencies. And that's exactly, where we find ourselves right now.
How do those two zip codes compare? The two zip codes, how do they compare? The ones that you just stated in Manatee County and then South St. Pete.
If you're looking, numbers to numbers, the Manatee County is lower because it's smaller,
Mm-hmm.
but for as far as ratios, they're very, very close. I
Comparable.
mean,
Okay.
yeah, it's pretty alarming. And then with that Manatee County zip code, you also have some of those nursing homes with the high numbers as well. So
Good.
that could lend to some of that as
Okay.
well.
Yeah.
But when you look at healthcare in our communities, a lot of residents in District 70 don't necessarily have primary care physicians, and the ER is their primary care physician. And now you find people afraid to go to the ER because if they haven't contracted COVID, it's kind of been put in our minds that if I go to the hospital, I'm going to contract COVID. So then their primary care is now cut off. So we're sitting at home letting issues that may not have anything to do with COVID fester. So outside of COVID, we still have some sick individuals that aren't receiving the care that they need because they're afraid of what COVID may do to them. I mean, it's something that it's just spiraling out of control for various reasons. So I think that one of the things we should look at, talking about universal health care for all, that's going to be a fight that is it's just going to continue to be a fight. The majority is totally against it, it seems like. So, for me to be a freshman Dem going in and say, that's what I'm going to do, I wouldn't dare. I would definitely work on making strides toward that and progress in that issue. But I think a more effective fix would be to look at ensuring that our local health departments and our the health clinics locally that a lot of our residents use have more funding and have adequate funding to be able to serve our residents. These local health clinics, they have the various specialties, they have dentistry, they have primary care that our residents can receive. So they have been inundated during this COVID crisis. And so I think we need to make sure that until we can look at this universal healthcare for all, that those health departments and those local clinics receive more than enough funding to make sure that our residents are receiving decent healthcare in the meantime.
Haiti, you want
All
to
I
go?
want to say, I'm not going to interrupt. Nope, you're next. I just want to, again, let the viewers know that the call-in number is 813-221-9700. Call Michelle Grimsley and ask her your questions if you have any. Um, you know,
Great. So, Michelle, tell us what makes you what do you think makes you the best candidate for this seat? So, Florida District House seat 70, you have a few other folks in your race. So, needless to say, we're coming close to the primaries soon, right?
Yes.
And I know what it's like. What makes you stand out among your other opponents that are in obviously the primary? What makes you stand out? Can you tell us maybe just let's say three things that you believe makes you a better candidate for this seat?
You know, the experience, especially at a time like this, we need someone that is going up there with their eyes wide open and understands how Tallahassee works. We don't have time right now to have representation that has to figure out, you know, where to go and what to do and who to talk to, and hoping that that person responds to the email, or that leadership is going to answer the call, or even, you know, sit down and speak with you. We need somebody that has established relationships in Tallahassee and knows how to leverage that. Those relationships. You know, I have that, and not just with the legislators and leadership in the legislature, but, you know, any senator or a member of the House will tell you their aide is the access. So me having just been an aide, I've got tons of relationships with aides in the minority and the majority. So I think I'm going to be able to be effective because I understand how to work in to schedules and whatnot. You know, another thing is I'm a listener. You know, tons of people think that I'm too quiet, or that, you know, you need to be loud to have this position. But I say no. You know, I think that being a listener and an effective listener is one of the most valuable things and that you need in a leader, and especially in this seat, because, you know, when you come up to Tallahassee to visit, you're going to get what we say is a 15-minute time block, but it's really going to be about 10 minutes if everything's running on schedule the way it should be. And you shouldn't have to sit in my office and listen to me talk the entire time. I'm here to listen to what you're there to tell me, and what you're passionate about, and why you decided to drive up to Tallahassee, and take it from there, and then follow up and figure out what we can do to rectify your issue. Um, you
I
know,
love that you say that. You know that? I do love that you say that
I've seen it too many
because
times, baby.
listening is so important
Yeah, it
for the
is.
constituents, right?
It is. And, you know, I've seen it so many times where people travel to Tallahassee and they're trying to get with legislators in the elevator, in the cafe, or wherever they can see them. And it they look disappointed. And I would never do that to a constituent. I've seen it too many times. Um, but another thing is just being present. Um, and when I say being present, I'm not going to be able to be everywhere, but the districts on the St. Pete side of District 70, they may not have seen me over the years, because with my job over the past 2 years is when I was really present in St. Petersburg. But, you know, I dare anybody to call anyone in Manatee, Sarasota County and ask them if I just popped up because I'm running for this seat. You know, this is work that I have been doing. It's work that I'm not going to stop doing. It's just in me, and it's who I am, and I'm passionate about helping my neighbors, not just, you know, me and my family. It's not about me. And I think I really want people to know that I understand what being not just a member of the Florida House of Representatives is, but truly representing your district. You know, you're there to represent the people that live in District 70, not just give your opinions and vote based on your heart. Your vote, it should be based on what's best for the residents of District 70 and the state of Florida.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Tell us a little bit about what you've done to connect with the community that's around you. You just stated that you've been doing work in the community, and even if you don't get elected, you'll continue to work. What type of work and community relationships have you developed since you've been in the community and working?
So various. I have relationships with different types of organizations, because I think that it all kind of comes together and is a puzzle piece, a puzzle at the end of the day. So I haven't really focused my efforts in one specific area, but I like to see where maybe we can all connect along the way. So with our chambers of commerce, and I'm an actual member and on the board for the Black Chamber of Commerce. So with that, we saw that there was a need for our Black community to have an outlet to discuss business issues and to create businesses and work on creating wealth within our own communities. So I've talked to various business owners and worked with them, and marketing is one of my passions. So, sitting with them and going through their business plans and talking through, some of their strategic pieces. That's work that I've done. With the NAACP, I focused on the Freedom Fund, which is the fundraising arm of the branch. I've done that for years, but being on the executive team of the NAACP, I've gotten to really understand that there's not a one size fits all fix for the issues that our community faces. So I've really gotten to sit under some very strong and passionate leaders and learn more and listen to why they feel the way they feel. I understand that we are not going to always see eye to eye in every issue, but I'm empathetic, and I really get to understand why some people work the way that they do, and we need all aspects of activism. So outside of the Black Chamber, working with our local chambers and the Latin chambers and our Democratic Black Caucus, I've learned a ton with working with them. So those are some of the relationships. School board members, and again, I say this didn't just start because I filed April 3rd. So it didn't just start then. So I can't tell you that since April 3rd, I've sat down and had meetings with all these people, because as we know, that was COVID. But these are relationships that have been built over the years, and that now, they're really strengthening, and I'm getting to have a better understanding of how processes work. And whereas before I might have been upset that something happened or something didn't happen, now I really get why we've had to wait or why we have to do things, one way or the other.
So let's say you win the election. Give us an idea, so the viewers and those who will take a look at this later, give us an idea of what are some of the first things you're going to do when you get to Tallahassee.
Okay, so I think it's going to start before I get to Tallahassee. It's going to start right here at home.
Okay.
And I would like to host a series of what I will call rep talks. And that's about any topic that anyone in my community feels that they want to learn about or they want to hear from me about. So rep talks would consist of me coming to you. I'm meeting you where you are. I'm
Right.
not expecting you to come to my office. If it has to be at 8 p.m., it'll be at 8 p.m. because everybody has to work. So those rep talks are going to be, it's not just going to be in a box. If you email and say you want to talk to me, then the rep's going to come out and talk to you about whatever that is. And if I can avoid sending staff, then I'm going to be the one that's there. And if that rep talk is over the phone, hey, now we're all Zoomers, so we can Zoom and do those things. But
Right.
That's one of the things that I really, really want to focus in on, and that's the education piece that I want to bring to the seat and talk to our residents about. If this is your problem, coming to the state isn't necessarily going to fix your problem. But we can, just because it's not a state issue, it doesn't mean I can't sit with you and figure out where we need to go and who we need to direct you to. So that's the biggest part for me, starting those rep talks before Tallahassee. While I'm in Tallahassee, I think it's going to be very important to be open and communicative with my residents. I mean, my constituents.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they send us up to Tallahassee and really have no idea what goes on to Tallahassee until we come back and have these legislative wrap ups that then they still don't even know what went on in Tallahassee. So,
Michelle, let me ask you this. Let me
Mm-hmm.
ask you this. So, and especially for me, is there anything that is provided by Tallahassee, the legislature, that via video or any type of um any type of thing that is used to educate the residents of the state on how the legislative process works?
I have not seen any videos. What I have seen are like printouts or coloring books that kind of teach you about the process for kids,
Mm-hmm.
school age kids, but nothing that's really going to
Right.
educate adults, you
Right.
know, and
Let me ask
outside
you
of,
this. Let me ask you this. Today, of course, we can't do that today, but in the future, can I interest you maybe in having an hour on just talking about the legislative process from beginning
I
to
would
end?
love it.
I
Absolutely.
want you to do that if you could,
I would
please,
love
for
it.
all of us.
I would love it because this isn't something that I ever aspired to do, honestly. I just am a worker bee. And once I see a gap, I want to fill in and figure out where we can fix it. But going up to Tallahassee, it's like, oh my gosh, we've got more work to do than I thought. So I would
But I want
absolutely
more
love that.
engagement from the public, because sometimes we
Yes.
just
Right.
complain about this needs to be done
Yes.
or why is
Yes.
this happening. But
Yeah.
and then so that everybody gets connected with their senators and their representatives. And
Exactly.
if they understand and are not intimidated by the process because they don't understand how it works, the
Right.
time frames, the timeline when you should begin to reach
Right.
out so that your representative can start drafting legislation, getting
Yes.
that's what I would love for
And I want
all of
people
us
to
to be able
know
to.
that laws are bills that came from ideas. So
Right.
all a bill is an idea that somebody had and we
Mm-hmm.
drafted it to legislation and now it's law. It's just as simple as that. It doesn't need to be stretched any further. And if you have a good idea, let's talk about how to make it a bill and get it signed into law. So
That's such an awesome point. I think folks disengage because they don't think that anything they say is going to make a difference because they don't really understand the process.
right.
So education, as you said, is key so that
Hmm.
they understand, okay, wow, what I am saying actually right now could, affect
Yes.
the community around me. And because I have
Yes.
a person that I can talk to, I like
Yes.
the fact that you said you are a person that folks can talk to. I've seen in the process where folks get elected and all of a sudden they disappear. They're like no longer a part of their community.
Hmm.
So what I'm hearing from you is that it's something that you plan to be is more present. I don't want to put
Absolutely.
words in your mouth. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the some of the best moments were talking to not just, I love talking to all the organizations that came up to Tallahassee, but there were a few that were made up of groups of kids that were passionate about their issues and came up to Tallahassee to fight for what they believed in. Some of
mhm.
those meetings I sat in and like I'm listening, but tears are falling because it just really warmed my heart to know that these kids know that something as simple as this can really make a difference. And some of them weren't fighting for issues for themselves, but issues that were for their friends. And, I just appreciated that so much that I just want to bring that back to District 70. And I want District 70 to know you can do this. We can do this together. This isn't just something that you have to sit back at home and say, I don't know what I'm going to do. We can get together, we can raise money and figure out how we're going to fill up a bus of District 70 residents and get you up to Tallahassee. And then we're going to lobby the heck out of the senators and the members of the House. And, one thing that there was a Manatee County group that came up and they didn't just stick with setting up meetings with the Democratic members. They went over to the Republican side as well. And they told them exactly how they felt. I want our people to know you got to talk to everybody because
Oh, thank you for saying that.
when they go
Yeah,
out
that
on that
is.
floor, there's
Mhm.
120 members that have a button to push, not just Democrats. So we
Thank
have
you
to
for
make
that.
sure that we're telling everybody about our issues and why it's important. And you have some people, well, I don't have to set up a meeting with you because you can't vote for me. Well, thanks for letting me know that it's on record now, and so I'll move forward with it. But would you still like to listen to, if you can't get to the member, talk to the aide, talk to their staff. Just
Mhm.
make sure that whatever you do, your voice is heard and that you've made every effort possible to make sure that what you believe in is heard for your district.
Yeah. How do you think you're going to maneuver this? Let's say you win this office, and like you said, we all know what the makeup is in terms of political parties at the in the legislature. So, how would a minority party go about getting, an issue to a bill that actually gets elected upon and passed? You talked about working with and I mean we interview all parties on Florida You Judge, as Haiti does. So we just give folks an opportunity to really, this is what we do, is to give folks in the community an opportunity to get to know who they're voting for. That's so important.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you tell your viewers how you're going to maneuver Tallahassee in that way as a minority party?
So what I can tell you is I don't really have to, take the time to figure it out, because I've already done it and I've already seen it in action. So I'm going to go in and utilize those relationships that I've already gotten established. One thing that I'm really looking forward to is, being a member under our incoming speaker, Sprouse. He is what I would consider local to where District 70 is, and I have a relationship with his office already. I think that's going to be super valuable to our district. Getting to really listen to where some of these chairs of the committees where our bills are going to be heard, getting to know why they are passionate about the issues that they're passionate about, and finding common ground is the end. And utilizing and leveraging some of those relationships that I've already built, that's really the key for me. And of course, you have your party leaders that are going to stand behind you no matter what, and they're going to be able to help you. But keep in mind, we're not just going in as a minority, we're going in as freshman Democrats. So it's a double whammy there. But so that's why I think it's very important that we utilize the relationships that we have. Some of the work that I did with Representative Newton and bringing money back to the district this past session, I was really surprised that we survived that veto pen as well as we did. We did get some projects cut that, hurt, but we were able to bring back over $4 million for District 70 this past legislative session. And with everything that happened with as much as the governor vetoed, and I will say this, he wasn't just vetoing Democratic projects and monies. A lot of items got vetoed, but those are things that we have an established relationship with the governor's office. Some things that we fought for didn't survive the veto pen in the end. Absent COVID, they would have. Such as Sadowski. We were so excited. I mean, the day that they announced that Sadowski was fully funded. For those of you that aren't familiar, Sadowski is the Affordable Housing Trust Fund in the state. It was put into the budget, but unfortunately it didn't survive the veto pen this year. So that's something else that's on the list to make sure that we continue to fight for.
So you've got to go ahead, Haiti. Do you want to say something?
Okay, so unfortunately we didn't get any call-ins, but I know I'm happy to report to the public that you immediately, as soon as I asked you whether you wanted to take call-ins, you were open to addressing call-ins. So, but where can the public reach you to direct?
Sure, you can reach me. I have a website. It's www.grimsleyhd70.com. You can learn a little bit more about me there. My cell is 727-342-0626. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And my email address is Michelle with 2 L's, MICHELLE @grimsleyhd70.com.
Okay, and so I will give you a minute. We have to wrap up. We're getting ready to get to one of your challengers in this race, Michelle Rayner. She's next from between 8 and 9. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just to address the public and the electorate, the voters.
Thank you. I just want to leave you with this, guys. It's important to send someone to Tallahassee now that has the experience and that has the passion and truly understands what it's going to take to get the job done. I have been doing that for years, and I'm ready to continue fighting for you and working for you. and across the entire district. You know, this seat isn't sacred to just one area. This seat is representing all districts and all residents and constituents of District 70. And I'm now more than ever, and I mean that with every fiber of my being, ready to continue fighting for you and fighting for what we have. You know, we've been gypped for a long time, for lack of better words, and it's time that we get what we are long overdue for. And Michelle Grimsley is that person that's going to make sure that that happens. Thank you,
for
Haiti, and
coming
thank you,
on.
Nina.
Thank you for coming on tonight. Good
Thank
luck.
you so much, Michelle. Thank you.
Thank you. You have a great weekend, ladies.
You too. Good night.
Thank you.
Alrighty.